And of course, there's a big event to look out for as well, which is the Reliance AGM. It's been a titan of a stock, really lifting the market higher all through since the March lows. And there's lots to watch out for that on today as well. Prashant, good morning.
And of course, I mean, so the big one is going to be the RIL AGM, as you said, and that is expected the speech is expected to start at 2 o'clock. I just thought, and we're going to begin by previewing what the RIL AGM may sort of focus on, the things which it would look at, because the AGM has always been a very important occasion over the years, where the company has sort of recapped what has happened in the year gone by, but it's also looked ahead. Just take last year's AGM, for example, and of course, I mean, that was pretty big, because there were 3 or 4 large announcements which were made. Top of the list, of course, were the point that they plan to be net debt free by March 2021, and the second point, of course, was that they are looking to bring in partners. Both those points have been sort of ticked off, the boxes have been checked, and it's happened, but what from here is the question. So, I just thought that maybe just quickly look at the expectations. So, there are 3 sort of analysts houses that I'm going to put out here. There's JP Morgan, there's Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and there is Morgan Stanley. So what is their impression of what investors want to hear, right? Let me put up what JP Morgan is saying. They say, our conversation with investors highlights some expectations of an announcement on timelines for completion of the Aramco deal, which is the OTC stake sale, and any update that implies closure of the stake sale in the next few months would be taken positively. So JP Morgan is very focused on the Saudi Aramco deal, which was announced last year. Remember, that was at an enterprise value of $75 billion. And they're saying that any indication that it's closer to completion, etc., should be taken very positively. Let's move on to what Bank of America is saying. They say, based on our interactions with investors, we note that several investors are expecting further clarity on the Aramco deal and what happens with future retail as well. Remember all the talk about how Reliance is sort of one of the front runners to pick up the stakes in leading future group companies. From the size of Reliance that we're talking about, this is largely going to be a smaller one. 8-10,000 crores would not move the needle in that sense, but strategically, of course, would be keenly watched. However, more financial details would drive re-rating. So that is Bank of America. Morgan Stanley has a bunch of things to add as well. They say, we expect investor focus to be on asset monetization, details especially on telecom InvITs and Saudi Aramco stake sale. Remember, there is the fiber InvIT, and then there is the power InvIT as well, which were sort of hived off, put in, and assets were transferred into these InvITs, and Reliance, of course, talked about bringing investors into these entities as well. We expect, let's just move on. So InvITs and Saudi Aramco focus will also be on capital allocation and growth strategy post-COVID-19. Investors will watch out for plans to leverage the partnerships with global technology peers and integrate its retail, digital, and financial businesses. So 3 big sort of research houses putting up their expectations of broadly what expectations are looking like. Naveen Kulkarni is joining us. He's with Axis. We have Harshvardhan Dole of IIFL Institutional Equities joining in to take some questions on what their thoughts are on the matter. Gentlemen, thanks very much. Great to have both of you here. Harshvardhan, let me start by asking you, how are you looking at this AGM? How important is this going to be? Because, I mean, it's pretty much been, so far this year has been full of deals, right? And lots of interest. How are you thinking about this event?
So I wouldn't want to speculate as to what will happen in the AGM or what will be announced. But what I would look forward is basically, similar to what the chairman of Reliance Group of Industries had indicated in the last AGM, his vision and a broader contours of the strategy as to how each of the businesses will grow going forward. I would expect a similar roadmap to be laid before the broader audience and the key shareholders as to in each of these businesses, the measures which were proposed, what has been achieved thus far, and what lies ahead in the next 2, 3, 4 years timeline. I think that will be the key thing to watch out. because from broader disclosure perspective, the annual report has been very comprehensive, and it has outlined the various investments which are underway, what is the status of those investments, etc. But final points such as induction of further strategic investors, if at all any more, is something that we look forward to hear from the chairman.
Okay, fair enough. Naveen, how are you thinking about this?
Yes, sir. My view is that see, Jio is of course still at this point in time is the centerpiece. Bulk of the investments which have happened in Jio. So we have had like almost 13 rounds of investment, major investments, also strategic tie-ups which are happening there. So that's, I think, is going to be the most critical aspect to look at, because right now if we look at Reliance Industries, more than 50% of its value is can be attributed to Reliance Jio as an entity. So Jio has a lot of cash at this point in time. So the utilization of that cash with regards to various strategies, whether we are looking at home broadband as a product, or we are looking at enterprise services, where I think Jio's presence is quite limited. So that's a very large piece. And thereafter, if what could be the, I would say that technological roadmap for Jio would be very important, right? Things like 5G and Internet of Things, and how they are going to participate in these kind of plays, right? So I think the roadmap is very critical, I think, because they have enough cash right now in the entity. From here on, where to and how, right? How probably will take time, but at least the broader vision in terms of what are the strategic endeavors which they would be undertaking, I think that's going to be the most interesting thing to watch out for. And apart from that, I would be very surprised if there is. I would not be very surprised if there is another major investment which gets announced even today, right? Which might be of very strategic in nature. Yeah, so these would be my broad expectations, primarily pertaining to Jio.
Okay, so lots of expectations from Jio on the future of the tech roadmap, and of course what the company plans to do in terms of further investments. Naveen, good morning. Surabhi here. I also want to get your thoughts in on indications that we have that maybe there will be some sort of an announcement on the financial services side. I mean, there have been plenty of reports suggesting that they want to get into insurance and maybe link that with the Jio platform, which just makes complete logical sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course. See, at this point in time, we are looking at this is a very wide range of platform, and now with a very fundamental change in which businesses are going to be conducted worldwide, the whole platform strategy becomes very critical. Whether we are looking at financial services, or whether we are looking at online shopping or anything, right? So and there are of course technological tie-ups, whether we are looking at Facebook as a tie-up which also owns WhatsApp, right? So there are various I think pieces which are there that Jio has in its kitty which it can attract. So I think that's going to be very interesting to watch out what all things that they can do with this platform. I think capital allocation will still be an important aspect, because if we are talking about insurance, then we are looking at also a capital allocation angle there. But I think overall the platforms have enough strength to look at a wide array of products.
Okay. Harshvardhan, let me come to you as well on this. I mean, would that act as any sort of a fresh trigger for the stock if there's any mention whatsoever on any sort of foray into the financial services space?
Well, if you look at the valuation of RIL as of now, it's certainly looking beyond the near-term earnings trajectory, and rightfully so, because the whole capital allocation strategy of the company has changed. The whole direction has changed. It's been perceived by the investors more of a technology company rather than an O2C company. Now, when you look at a technology company, a fintech company, naturally several avenues of speculation will open up as to whether Reliance will foray in banking, whether it will foray in insurance, broking, selling insurance, or whatever. if at all through this AGM some broader strategy or vision will be shared as to what definite steps will be taken to achieve the objective of leveraging the technology platform and ensuring that cross-selling can be achieved, thereby leveraging the quality platform of Jio, I think that will gradually start to get priced into stock of RIL. Also, I think if there is an assurance that the induction of strategic investors in the O2C business is very much intact, I doubt whether that will not act as a catalyst. It will certainly act as a catalyst because as of now the market seems to be more focusing on retail and Jio, but a trigger reiterating that even the O2C induction is very much on track can be seen as a potential catalyst for the stock from here on.
But after this huge round of fundraise, almost $13 billion, Harshvardhan, right, into Jio, has the relative importance or the relative need to induct that player into the oil and gas business gone down a little bit from a debt reduction perspective?
You're absolutely right that until last year the street was expecting this deal to be fast-tracked and a potential strategic investor to be inducted on a fast-track basis. But now with cash pile being raised at the parent entity, which is now more or less going to ensure that Reliance will be net debt-free, if not by FY21 and then if certainly by mid of FY22 when all the rights money comes in. The need to panic and induct a strategic investor to that extent has gone down. And I'm sure they will evaluate as to what is the right time and perhaps even reassess the valuation at which the potential strategic investor could be inducted.
Sure. Naveen, what else? I mean, what else are you sort of focused on? I mean, there are so many businesses, right? Some are new, some are old, some are under development. What other, in terms of surprises, can one broadly think about? Yeah.
So let's see at this level if they can surprise. So one aspect, of course, here is that the retail business is still evolving, and that is still a significant part of the overall valuation of our Reliance Industries as an entity. So, and then there is of course an offline as well as an online play there. So that's going to be one of the interesting things to watch out for, right? So what kind of strategic, I think, what directions that they will take, and whether there is a need for a strategic player at this stage or whether that will come at a later stage. I think those are the aspects, because at this point in time, while we are saying that Saudi Aramco, the need for that cash is not there, but more importantly, even in the O2C business, from a long-term perspective, from Reliance Industries as an entity perspective, Aramco would bring in some level of expertise, right, as a strategic partner. So that is a very, very critical aspect, right? And similarly, if you look at the other businesses, which is essentially retail is one business where there is at this point in time probably murmurs, but not necessarily a strategic partner in place. So I think that's an interesting thing to look at, because it also will involve a combination of brick and mortar and online model, right? So that's going to be a very, very critical piece. There could be announcements on that, and probably that can surprise positively.
Gentlemen, not very long to wait now, about 3 hours or so, and we'll be hearing from the RIL chairman himself. Thanks very much, Naveen and Harshvardhan, for joining us this morning to talk to us about the importance of this AGM and broadly how to think about it in regards to the various businesses and initiatives that RIL has been undertaking. We will take a very quick break here, the first on the show. The market